Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of DannieBSpeaks, the podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again to this week's show. I'm just going to keep the format going like I did last week. I kind of like that, and I got good feedback on that, just where I just talked about any and everything, and that's what I'm going to do. I do have a couple things written down that I want to talk about, but other than that, we're just going to just go with the flow. Just whatever I come across online, whatever I come across in my news feed, whatever. We're just going to discuss it. So, as always, sit back, relax, and just enjoy the show.
The category is Butch Queen first time in drags at a ball.
You know what I mean.
You know what Paris means.
Exactly. Butch Queen.
Butch Queen.
Butch Queen.
Butch Queen.
First time in drags at a ball. That's what I want up in here.
Shade comes from reading. Reading came first. Reading is the real art form of insult.
Now you want to talk about reading? Let's talk about reading. What is wrong with you, Pedro? Are you going through it? You're going through some kind of psychological change in your life?
She went back to be a man.
Oh, you went back to being a man. Touch this skin, darling. Touch this skin, honey. Touch all of this skin. Okay? You just can't take it. You're just an overgrown orangutan.
You get in a smart crack and everyone laughs and kikis because you found a flaw and exaggerated it, then you've got a good read going.
I am a person just like you. You cut me, I bleed the same way you do. I bleed the same color.
If it's happening between the gay world and the straight world, it's not really a read, it's more of an insult, a vicious slur fight.
See, there go my sister right there. She don't even want to even admit that she my sister. She a bulldagger.
But it's how they develop a sense of how to read.
That's my husband right there. And that's my girlfriend right there.
They may call you a faggot or a drag queen. You find something to call them. But then when you are all of the same thing, then you have to go to the fine point. In other words, if I'm a black queen and you're a black queen, we can't call each other black queens because we're both black queens. That's not a read. That's just a fact. So then we talk about your ridiculous shape, your saggy face, your tacky clothes.
Let me see what you are.
Let's
see.
No paint.
Yes,
no motherfucking paint, girl.
What?
She wears more makeup than my mother does.
Then reading became a developed form where it became shade. Shade is, I don't tell you you're ugly, but I don't have to tell you because you know you're ugly. And that's shade.
And yes, those clips, of course, are from the iconic 80s movie Paris is Burning, which documents pretty much an underground scene that wasn't really put out there of the LGBTQ community in New York City. It showed what the community goes through, the different people in the community, and all that good stuff. But it mainly focused on the ballroom scene, which was real huge back then. It's starting to try and make a comeback, but everybody just thinks that ballroom now is just voguing, which is so much more than that. But anyway, for Pride Month, which is in June, select theaters are going to be re-releasing Paris is Burning. I don't know in what cities. I'm pretty sure, of course, New York, Los Angeles, probably Atlanta, Chicago, places like that. I'm going to check and see if it's coming to Columbus, because even though the movie's on Netflix and I own the DVD, I would like to see it on the big screen. So hopefully maybe Gateway or somewhere like that, Drexel, one of those little smaller, more independent movie theaters. Hopefully we'll show the documentary, but it will be making its comeback. Of course, Paris is Burning is one of the most iconic LGBTQ movies of all time. And I even tell people who just have questions about the community and all that good stuff, who want to understand what reading and shade and voguing and all that fun stuff is, when we say stuff like category is, things like that, that's where you get the education from what all that was within this movie. So I'm excited about that. Even if Columbus won't have it, I'm excited that it will be back on the big screen. Hopefully it'll have a huge turnout and they will release it. I mean, they do it with a lot of other movies, but hopefully it'll be nationwide. We shall see. And of course, Paris is Burning is one of the films that have probably some of the most recited lines ever from any movie. I would say it probably comes maybe second or third to like Coming to America, Harlem Nights, movies like that, to where you can just recite certain lines and people know exactly where it's from. If you've seen Paris is Burning, you can say one line and people will just feed off of it who else have seen it. And I suggest anyone who has any questions or is just interested in learning more about the community instead of hearing it from people who just think that they've read books or whatever, or think they know what the LGBT community is, even though they're not a part of it and haven't lived it, I would say start here. Start at Paris is Burning. It's on Netflix. You can probably find it on YouTube. It's an iconic, legendary movie. It's just everything. So I'm glad that that's going to be released in theaters soon.
OPULENCE. Opulence. You own everything. Everything is yours. Vanjie, looking like the boy that probably robbed you a few minutes before you came to Paris's ball.
Sweetheart, with the cigarette, you're giving me a Banji girl effect. This is Banji. You know, the girls that be on the corner talking about, yo, man, Brenda Extravaganza, looking like a Banji girl. Banji. Banji girl realness. You know, one that can take our little baby brother to school. One that say, you know, like, hey.
Everybody wants to leave something behind them, some impression, some mark upon the world. And then you think you left a mark on the world if you just get through it. If you shoot an arrow and it goes real high, hooray for you.
Speaking of gay icons, one of my favorite, the iconic late great musician Sylvester. He is one of the pioneering disco queens of all time. His legendary song You Make Me Feel Mighty Real is being added to the Library of Congress. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. For people who don't know, Sylvester passed away in 1988. And in my opinion, he was the originator and definition of the word androgyny, because you never knew what you were getting when Sylvester was in your presence. I mean, he was just a genius in every sense of the word. Could sing his ass off, put on a show. He gave you costume, he gave you makeup, hair, everything. And he also gave us 2 Tons of Fun, which ended up being the Weather Girls, who of course sang the iconic dance song, It's Raining Men. So shout out to Sylvester, way overdue. But having your song added to the Library of Congress is amazing. And another gay icon, Miss Beyonce. Beyonce, the legendary Beyonce. Let's just go ahead and give that up to her. But she's releasing a documentary called Homecoming on Netflix, which will go behind the scenes of her 2018 Coachella performance. Homecoming will be on Netflix, available for streaming April 17th, which is this upcoming Wednesday. So legendary basketball player Dwayne Wade had played his last game in Miami this past week. He will be retiring at the end of the season, and just a very successful career. He will definitely be a Hall of Famer when his time comes. I think they had to wait 10 years after their retirement to be eligible for the NBA Hall of Fame. So I'm pretty sure there's no doubt that Dwayne Wade will be a Hall of Fame player. Very successful career. You can tell Dwayne is just a great guy all around. And he had a commercial that just made my allergies just flare up. It just showed all these people who were just thanking him for changing their lives. And over the years, Dwayne Wade had traded jerseys with other players who he admired when he played them in a game. And these people who he inspired, including his mom at the end, which really took me out, traded she traded her first preacher's robe that he gave her. And of course, it was purple, which means royalty. One of the ladies on there gave him her brother, Joaquin. And I apologize, I can't remember his last name, but he was one of the Parkland shooting victims, and Dwayne Wade was his favorite player. And so she gave him his last jersey that he played in. I think it was a championship game not long before he passed away. So, I mean, it was just like one guy gave Dwayne his jacket that he wore to an interview, his first job interview in a long time. And someone gave him her cap and gown from graduation. I mean, it was a bomb commercial. And it just shows that a lot of these sport figures and celebrities, period, do more and go above and beyond that a lot of people don't really know, things that they're doing behind the scenes, because you don't have to put out there everything you do. If you're just doing good work, you don't have to put it out there. And if you're doing it actually from your heart, you don't have to constantly put it out there. So shout out to Dwayne Wade for that. And also shout out to Dwayne Wade, Gabrielle Union, the entire Wade family for supporting his 11-year-old son, Zion, who hasn't officially said anything, but pretty much they've said that he's gay. He's a member of the LGBTQ community. And Gabrielle and the rest of the family, minus Dwayne, because he was away for a game, but he was full support of his son and took him to Miami's Pride Parade. And it was just beautiful. And of course, a lot of people had a problem saying that, oh, he's only 11 years old. How does he know? I mean, come on, 11 years old, by then you know. If you don't know before then, you know at 11 years old. Come on now. Just like the same way people know that they're straight and they're not gay, people know that they're gay by 11 years old. You may still have some confusion, but majority do know. I mean, come on now. I mean, 11 years old, come on. So shout out to them. They did a big thing. And of course, they're going to get backlash by people who think that they know everything. It was just a wonderful thing. Even his older brother, Zaire, he even posted a picture with him saying, I got your back and all this other stuff. And it's just a beautiful thing that he can be exposed to this and see that there are more like him and see that there are more people, and just having the support of his family at such a young age is one of the most important things, because this is why we hear so many kids who are either teased because they are or aren't, but because of the ignorance that these kids have that mainly come from their parents and their community. That's why a lot of these kids commit suicide. He has the support and is not going to be kicked out of his parents' home for coming out as gay, which still happens to this day. It's a beautiful thing, and there are so many people of the community who wish at that age that they could have been comfortable enough, been supported enough to be who they are. It just really just made me feel good just seeing that, and shout out to the Wade family, definitely. And Zion, keep your head up. You look very comfortable with who you are. People are going to say what they want to say. Just do you. And looks like you have no problem doing you. So shout out to all them for that. As I sit here and question my love and hate relationship with Black folks, of course, Nipsey Hussle, who we lost tragically last week, and his memorial service was held at the Staples Center, the same place Michael Jackson's was held. I mean, come on now, Nipsey just proved how much love this man had, and it was sold out. They had tickets, free tickets, mind you, keep that in mind. But they had his memorial. I couldn't watch it. You know, I did see like Lauren London and the kids talk, his mother and father talk, his brother talk, his sister, you know, so I saw like a lot of the family. I didn't watch any of the performances because I heard that Marsha Ambrosius, that she couldn't even keep it together. I knew Anthony Hamilton would have taken me out, and Janae Aiko, so I just couldn't watch it all. But his program was a book. I mean, it's just crazy just how much he had influence and a lot of people didn't know. Just how smart he was. I mean, this dude, before his family went out, Nipsey would light sage to protect his family from all this evil bullshit going on out here. You know, I mean, it was, he was definitely one of a kind. And I feel bad for all, you know, just everyone involved, his family. His mother is just the epitome of strength. That when she rolled down the window, when they were in the procession, she rolled down the window and they were playing his music and she was rapping right along with it. I mean, that's a strong woman right there. That's nothing but a praying mother. And there is nothing like a praying mother. I'm telling you, just with all that just faith and just strength, you know, I mean, it was amazing. It was just beautiful from what I saw. However, let me go back to my love-hate relationship with Black folks, because of course, Black folks were online trying to sell tickets to this memorial that they got for free. I mean, really? I mean, this is what what we're doing. I mean, it's been done before, but I mean, you're going to be that, never mind. So they were online selling tickets to his memorial, and it was just gross. It was just gross, but what do we expect? And also, Suge Knight has spoke out about Nipsey's death and just how sorry he is, but he did make a very good point. He made a very good point saying that Nipsey and his love and dedication to the hood made him a target. And sadly, Suge is right. It definitely made him a target because there are people out there who don't want change. They want the mess to stay there. Or it's just jealousy, which it appears that this murder may have came from. The guy who killed him wanted what Nipsey had. And since he knew or thought that he could never get it, I'm just going to hate on this dude, and I'm just going to take him out, which is the effed up philosophy, but it happens. But Suge was right. I mean, if anybody knows. Suge is just definitely hardcore and from the streets, and he knows what it is, and he wasn't lying. Just continue to pray for his family, his fans, his community, everyone that he's touched, because this is definitely a loss that is going to be missed for sure. Just hope somebody keeps his legacy going and they're able to do it in a safe place. Just cover them and hope that they're protected and Nipsey is protecting them, because someone needs to do it. Someone needs to pick up where Nipsey left off. I just hope no one is scared to do it, but rest in peace again to Nipsey Hussle. The biggest thing I can say about remaining healthy and losing weight are 4 very important things. Get your protein in, take vitamins, get your water in, and be active. Now, vitamins can be any kind of supplement that you may feel your body needs, any type of mineral, vitamin that you believe you're not getting enough of. Now, with bariatric surgery, you have to take vitamins and supplements for pretty much the rest of your life. And that's because there are certain things that you can't eat anymore, or you're not getting enough in them in the day because you can't eat as much. So you have to take the vitamins and supplements to supplement it. And for me, I take vitamins all throughout the day. I take B12, I take B1, iron pills, vitamin D, calcium. I think that's it. I do take a magnesium and a potassium once a week as well. So, but it just depends. People take more, people take less, but those are my staples. I take them all day throughout the day. I have a little pill box that there's a little small box for every day of the week, and I just fill it on Sunday nights, and it has like a slot for morning, afternoon, evening, and bedtime. And I take medicine all throughout the day, as I mentioned, at those times. So that really helps. Now, being active, it's so much easier to be active after you lost weight, of course. Now, for me, I was always active. I really didn't have a problem. But now I definitely see a difference in my level of energy and things that I'm able to do. And of course, 150 pounds lighter, you're going to see that. But you have to remain active. And being active doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in the gym. It's something you don't have to be in the gym at, especially starting out. Walking is the best exercise that you're going to get, especially when you're at a certain weight. You just have to move around. You cannot be stagnant. You have to be mobile. It helps with the flow of your blood. It helps with your metabolism. And those are 2 things that you really need so that other things won't happen. That's why you see on My 600-Pound Life how these people have all these things on their legs and whatever, because they can't or they don't move enough. Yes, it's easier for you to be active when you're smaller and weigh less. I think everybody needs to be active, and as long as you can, as long as you're able to be active. And the last 2 for me, which were that I also mentioned, are protein and water. Now, you can eat healthy all you want to. You can drink as much water as you want to. You can not drink soda, not drink a lot of juice, not put sugar in your coffee, tea. But if you're not getting in the amount of water that you need per day, you're not going to lose weight. Water does help you lose weight. And I found that out pretty much the hard way, because when my weight was plateaued, I noticed that when I had more protein in my diet as well as more water, drinking that throughout the day, it really helped. Now, I try to drink 64 ounces or more a day. I definitely get my 64 ounces in. I try to get a little bit more, like I'll try to drink a bottle of water before I go to bed, and I want to have the 64 ounces in before I go upstairs and get ready to get in the bed. Part of that is I'm taking with my medicine. I always take water with my medicine. Unless I just don't feel like getting up, then I'll have like my protein shake. I think it's best to get at least between 70 and 80, maybe even 85 grams of protein in to be successful at losing weight. Protein is very important and people don't realize it. Yeah, I mean, you can drink protein shakes and those really do help because they give you your protein, but it's also in what the foods that you eat. And a lot of foods that we eat every day do have a lot of protein in it, but I realize that when I focus on protein and water, it definitely helps me lose weight at a faster pace. So obviously it does something to my body, but definitely be vigilant of your carbohydrates, your calories, fat intake, sugar, sodium, all of them go hand in hand and they can derail any type of weight loss, any type of just trying to be overall healthy. Now, it's not saying that you can't have those things in your diet. I mean, we're all human. I still have carbs and sugar, but I try to maintain a certain amount of calories. I try not to go over, and I say try because it is still kind of hard, but it's also hard for me to try to get that amount as well. But I try to have about at least 12 to 1,300 calories a day. Some people may be like, well, that's it. Or some people may even say it's too much. 1,200 really isn't a lot when you put together a whole day of eating and drinking. Now, 1,200 to 1,300 still may be low for a grown woman, and people may think that you need more, but you had to remember, I can't eat as much. When I do eat, it has to be low in calories, low in carbohydrates, so I'm not getting as much in that a normal person would on a daily basis. But just try at first to focus on those 4 things. Again, it's getting your protein in. I suggest between 70 to 85 grams of protein a day. Vitamins do help, even if you just take 1 multivitamin a day. Now, people who have bariatric surgery, your surgeon in the program that you're in will let you know what they think that you need to take. Along the way, you'll experiment with new vitamins if you're not getting enough of something in. When you go get blood drawn, they'll tell you that you don't have enough of this, you don't have enough of that. So it's easier just to get the supplements because you still may not want to eat certain things. You had to have potassium. I remember before I left the hospital, my potassium was real low. So I had to do a potassium drip, and that thing took forever. That's what was taking me so long to get discharged the day that I got discharged from the hospital. Every time I go get my blood drawn, my potassium is low. So I take a potassium supplement. And I only do it once a week because to me, it's not really that important. But you find those things out along the way. And I just bring up potassium because that's something that my body needs and I wasn't getting enough of. Through blood tests and all these other things, I was able to tell where I stood and what I needed. Water. Water is extremely important, as I mentioned. At least try to get 64 ounces a day. And it's not really that much, especially if you just sip it throughout the day. Even if you're drinking something else, just try to sip water just starting out. I think it's easier to get your water in. It's warmer outside, so more people may not mind drinking more water if you're not really a water person. But I've always drank water. I've trained myself years ago to drink water with even just my meals. So that's never been a problem with me. The only problem is trying to get the 64 ounces in every day because I can't drink as much every single day. So I really work hard at doing that. And of course, lastly, as I mentioned, be active. Just get out there and walk. If you're going into a store, if you're going into work, park back, a little further. If the weather's decent, of course. As for me, I try to get my morning steps in, I walk around the building and go in another entrance. And that gives me some steps. And the entrance I go in, my desk is on the other side of the building from the entrance that I go in. So I'm getting a nice amount of steps in the morning, just starting out. So that's this week's health segment. Next week, I think I'm going to discuss intermittent fasting, the way that I do it. And it's been working for me. So between intermittent fasting and I decided to do keto. So I'm going to talk about getting started on keto as well. That may be another podcast after I do keto for about a few weeks. But next week, we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. Auntie Maxine is still out here gathering the children as usual. And if there's anyone that you're not going to try to contradict and try to play like they're stupid, is Auntie Maxine. So last week, Auntie had to let Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin know a couple things about himself when he was basically making it seem like, I don't have to be here. I'm only here just because I have more important matters to get to. I'm not going to sit here and be questioned when I have something else I need to go to. And he messed up by trying to be funny and saying, and he kept getting jumbled up on his words because he was trying to be funny, but you could tell he was also nervous too. But he was basically saying stuff like, I will stay here, but I won't answer questions. If you want me to stay, I will stay. If you tell me to stay, I will stay, even though I have another meeting to be at. So pretty much, as I took it, and I'm sure a lot of other people did as well, he gave options. He said, I'll stay if you want me to, but if not, then I'll leave and do what else I have to do. So Auntie Maxine caught right on and she said, oh, okay, so, and proceeded like she was going to ask him his questions because he didn't know what he was saying. He was too busy trying to be funny. And see, let me sidebar real quick. That's the thing about this administration. You have never heard an administration talk to Congress this way because they feel that they can do it only because Trump does it. Trump says whatever he wants. So all of their true colors are coming out right now. I mean, you just hear it in their tones. You hear it in their sarcasm. There's no professionalism in this administration at all. And it starts from the top. But anyway, when Maxine went on to proceed to ask him questions like, okay, well, we're going on. He said, no, wait a minute. I said that I had something else to go to and I'm not going to answer any questions. She said, no, you gave me options. You said either I'm going to do this or do that. And okay, I want you to do this. So this is what we're going to do. And he didn't realize what he said until she gathered him. And then not only that she gathered him, he also tried to tell her that she needs to bang her gravel, which it's a gavel, to end this meeting. And she basically let him know that you're not going to tell me how to do my job. I run this. That's basically what she said in so many words. And he was just as red as he can be. He knew he was wrong, and he was trying to be funny and just show just how dumb and ignorant he is. So once again, as always, shout out to Maxine Waters. She was reclaiming her time as usual, and I'm here for all of it. Oh, Meghan McCain. Now, I really don't like to talk about this chick anymore. I mean, I really never did, but she's just exhausting. And the only reason why she has this job is because of who her father is. Let's just keep it all the way real. So anyway, she's always just saying something ridiculous and crazy. And her position on the show is the diehard Republican. We get it. The View has always had one, but she's not living up to Elizabeth Hasselbeck, even though she got on my nerves, but she stood firm in herself and she didn't try to make other people feel stupid while doing it. Now, my favorite in that chair, with the conservative chair, that's what I call it, was Jedediah. Now, I really liked her because she made sense. As much of a diehard Republican conservative as she is, she still called out BS when it needed to be called out. Meghan, she can't stand the Trumps. She can't stand the Trump family, but she will make excuses for things that they say and do. You can't have it both ways, sis. You can't have a hate and a discard for this family because of how they treated your father and things that they said about your father, but still support them in the bullshit that they do that is bullshit, but just to go against it and to support this crazy stuff that they're doing. Anyway, so let me just get to what happened because I can go on and on about Meghan McCain's ass. But anyway, so this past week, Joy was about to go straight Brooklyn on her. And not only Brooklyn, but Brooklyn Italian on her. Now, anyone who's spent any time in Brooklyn knows that's a thing. So anyway, Meghan is someone who always interrupts people on the show. Now, they all interrupt each other every now and then. I mean, that's just when people are talking and in conversation and whatever, it happens. They all interrupt each other, but Meghan is really good for it, especially when someone's trying to prove a point. Case in point, her and Joy this past week. So Meghan was talking whatever, she made her point, and then Joy responded and was saying, how she felt about the situation. And Megan, of course, wouldn't let Joy get out. You know how they do. They won't let you finish what you got to say when you start making a point. So Megan interrupted Joy, and Joy was like, I let you speak, now let me speak and finish. And Megan and her arrogant ass had the nerve to say, well, part of your job is to listen to me. Joy's face. Baby. I was nervous. And luckily, Whoopi knew what was getting ready to go down and stopped it right there and said, we're not going to do this. And she put an end to it right then and there. Joy was pissed. I watched her face over and over again, just trying to analyze what she was saying and just trying to get in her mind and everything. And she was pissed, but it just shows the arrogance that a lot of them have. And it also shows that they don't want you to finish your point when you're trying to make one. I don't understand, but however, she was about to get it, and I would have been all here for it. As for this bullshit documentary, Leaving Neverland, one of the accusers, James Safechuck, his lies have been exposed. Did they not think that any one of these fans would investigate this on their own and would just look into things and try to put the pieces together and all this other stuff? Did they not? Okay, obviously they didn't. So anyway, James Safechuck's biggest bombshell was that he and Michael would have sex in the train station, and the upstairs of the train station to be exact. And this allegedly happened between 1990 and 1994. So at the time, James Safechuck would have been around between 12 to 16 years old. And people pointed out that around the time that James got to be about 15, 16 years old, he was much bigger than Michael, So, not this size matters, but that's just something to point out there. However, the train station didn't become under construction until 1994. There was no upstairs at all in 1994. And the train station didn't finish until 1996. Now, mind you, also in the middle around this time when he said that all of this happened, he was also saying that he wasn't around Michael as much. But there are pictures of him constantly with Michael and his wife at the time, Lisa Marie Presley. And he's like holding he's holding the umbrella over Michael and just looking as calm and just, and earlier on, he said that his parents made him stay away from Michael when he became a teenager. Now, in these pictures, and he was well into his teenage years around this time, because I was a teenager and he's like a couple years older than me. So, dude, come on now. And now they're working on Wade Robson, and his lies are being exposed a little bit as well about timing and things like that. And people can argue and say that, well, it was a traumatic time in their lives and people are going to get dates confused and all this other stuff. But when you're accusing someone of something years ago, dates are very important. They're extremely important. Now, you don't have to be spot on. You don't have to do that, but at least be close and at least have your story together. And it just shows that the producer of this, he didn't even check these things out, and he's trying to make excuses for them or whatever, and it's not working, So, little by little, lies are getting exposed from these two. And there were a couple more things that I wanted to read on this, so I'll have those in next podcast or the one after, where it gets into more of where James and Wade have been caught in lies. And it's not just about the dates, it's about things that have happened. And y'all's fave Oprah is now backpedaling, not verbally, but she has deleted a lot of things that she's posted on her YouTube and social media regarding this bullshit of a case of a documentary that she helped endorse. And by the way, she still hasn't even mentioned her good girlfriend Harvey Weinstein, and as for her backtracking and trying to delete stuff on the sly and, not coming out and saying anything about these new developments that are coming as to where it's being proved that James and Wade are lying. She hasn't said anything, of course, about that either, but as for all this backtracking, too late, sis. It's too late. I still don't see it for you. I'm not going to see it for you. That's it. Now, this past Saturday, I went to the Maker X Expo at the fairgrounds. I went with my dear friends and their center, the Rickenbacker Woods Foundation. Please look up Rickenbacker Woods because they're doing some amazing things. They have classes, event space that you can rent out, after school programs for the kids. The board is growing. They're doing amazing things over at Rickenbacker Woods, so check that out. But anyway, Maker X is a showcase pretty much of science and technology and people who are creating it. I mean, there were children that were doing things, adults, it doesn't matter, just various things. They had people who were making the robots and things from Star Wars. They had a STEM program, just so many things. It was just amazing. I was truly amazed. The kids loved it. But it showcases these brilliant people who are creating these things from the Central Ohio area. And I highly recommend if it comes back next year, which I'm sure it will, but look out for that. It's called Maker X. It was amazing. I had a great time, but I'm a science and technology nerd anyway. It's for the whole family. Kids had a great time. Adults had a great time. I highly recommend it. Something different to do. I'm telling you, there are so many things to do in this city. People constantly always talk about how boring Columbus is. We don't have this, we don't have that. Well, I mean, we're Columbus, you know. I mean, every city doesn't have what you like. I mean, you know, people talk about wanting to move to Charlotte, Atlanta, New York, you know, I mean, all these cities and stuff that when you go there to visit, they have a lot going on, but that's because you're not there every day. Trust me, I know people that live in Charlotte, people that live in Atlanta, people that live in DC, people that live in New York, Phoenix, LA even. They're not impressed because that's where they live. You know, when they come here, they're like, oh, y'all got this, y'all got, you know, so it's the same thing. Every city is not going to be the same, and that's why we're all different. We're all unique. It doesn't matter if we're major cities or not. So just get out there and expand and see some things and do things. I challenge everybody to go out and do something that you normally wouldn't do, either with yourself, your spouse, your family, friends, whoever. Just go out there and just try something new. You may find that you have a new interest. I highly recommend that, but there are so many things going on in this city. And check out DannieBSpeaks.com because I'm going to be posting soon a list of spring and whatever's posted so far for summer festivals and events going on, concerts going on. I'll be posting that very soon. I'm getting the list together as we speak, so check that out. But just get out and adventure, get out and do something. Of course, the city's going to be boring if you're doing the same thing over and over again. But trust me, people who live in these other cities that y'all think are fantastic, they're saying the same exact thing about their own city. And in other Columbus news, now I know I have a lot of people who don't live in Columbus, but you know, I do want to give my hometown people a little something here, you know, just things that I want to let them know that is going on in the city. Just came across a couple things online or things that I just heard about. And one of them is the North Market, which is currently downtown. It's between the Short North and downtown. But they're building another one and it's going to be in Dublin. So the North Market will also be in Dublin. There'll be 2 locations, which I can't wait to check that one out. I love going to the North Market as well. That's something that I like to do every now and then. It's nothing that I do all the time, but I probably go about 3 or 4 times a year. It's, you know, I mean, just to go, just to see what new they have, to eat some of the food, just different things. So there's that. And I've noticed that, you know, a lot of the suburbs around Columbus are making it so that their residents don't have to travel that far. And a lot of major cities do this. You know, you have people who live in certain cities and they don't travel too far out their neighborhood because they have pretty much everything there that they need. And I noticed that Columbus is doing that as well. You know, a lot of these suburbs are growing. You know, they have a lot of the stores that you see here. They have a lot of the supermarkets that you see here. Now, just like in Dublin has a lot of things already, but, you know, now they're going to have the North Market. So people who live in and around Dublin, they don't have to travel downtown if they don't want to, you know, if they don't want to take that ride. So that's just something to look out for. And even my neighborhood, Easton, which is in the city, it's in Columbus, but they're expanding even more. And I'm actually personally over it. And it's only because the traffic already sucks and it's going to get worse. But as a resident of Columbus, I'm happy to see it. You know, they're going to have more bars coming, more clubs coming, more restaurants, stores. I think they're building a new hotel. I heard some apartment buildings, but pretty much even where I live, I can see them coming to try and get this neighborhood, try to buy this neighborhood again. They tried years ago before they even built Easton. So we'll see. But there's that. A new Hilton hotel will be coming to downtown. It's a $200 million hotel and it will guarantee minimum wage of $15 to their employees. And they're following suit with Nationwide Children's Hospital, which has already increased its minimum wage to $15. And people who are already making more than $15 will be getting a raise as well. Good for them. And Target, over the next couple years, well, I'm sorry, over the next year, I keep forgetting this is 2019, Lord have mercy, but Target is raising its minimum wage to $13 an hour as of right now. And by the end of 2020 is targeting a $15 minimum wage to pay their employees. That's just amazing. I mean, and it just shows that if the cities aren't going to raise their minimum wage, then just the companies are going to have to do it. And that's what a lot of them are doing. So shout out to Nationwide Children's Hospital, to the Hilton Hotel and Target for stepping up and doing the right thing for their employees, and other businesses that have taken it upon themselves to do it. And, a lot of people argue that people who work in retail and fast food don't deserve to make that amount of money. Yes, they do. And especially nowadays, you cannot live off of anything less than $14 an hour. 13 is pushing it. I'm sorry. Especially if you have a family. I mean, I make very good money and I struggle with certain things. I'm comfortable, but still when things come up, I'm like, ooh, because I'm still building up my savings to be even more comfortable. So, sometimes I had to dip into that savings and I'm like, ooh, girl, but definitely needs to happen. And I just remember when I started working, and this was in the mid to late 90s, minimum wage was only $4.25 an hour. Now, I was a teenager. So that was cool with me. I was cool with that because it just gave me a little bit of pocket change. I didn't have any bills. And after a while, the only bill I had was, since I had a job, I had to pay my cell phone, my pager bill. I mean, that didn't break me, even making $4.25 an hour for the few hours that I worked per week. But could you imagine making $4.25 an hour even in the mid to late 90s and having to take care of a family too? And honestly, yes, it's gone up, but it's not, but it's still, it balances out with the cost of living, what they believe that the cost of living is and what people who work certain jobs should be making, and it's not enough to survive off of. And then they're trying to get away of benefits and things like that, trying to make it harder for people to get who aren't making ends meet. And there are people out there, yes, that do play the system, but there are also, and a majority of the people who need these programs. They need good health care. They need food stamps. They need housing assistance because they can't make it on their jobs. Just that. And especially if you have a family. I know people with 2 incomes coming into their household and they struggle. So it doesn't matter. Times are hard out here. For me, it's just me, and I lucked out because I took over my grandparents' house, but it's still a lot to take care of. And I still pay my grandmother rent, but it's just like, it's hard out here. And eventually I'm going to have to buy my own home, which I was already in the process of doing before my grandfather passed away. But it's going to be something that I'm going to have to do. And I want to make sure that I'm in a place to be able to do that and that I'm comfortable enough to know that I can take care of a home if something happens. A lot of people don't have that luxury, and it's really sad. And you have our government and Congress. You know what? I'm not even going to go there. That's a whole nother topic. I don't know if any of y'all heard of this girl before this happened, if you did hear about it at all. But there's this pastor, and I use this word very loosely once again, but Pastor Travis Jennings out of Georgia had the nerve with his short Napoleon complex, egg-headed, funny-built shaped ass to get up there and decided to critique the women of his congregation, basically telling them that it's their fault that they don't have a man. He seriously called them down, and they volunteered to go down. These women volunteered to go down, so you can't fully blame him for this, but he asked if there were any women in the congregation who wanted him to critique them, to tell them what's wrong and why they don't have a man. He seriously ran them down from head to toe, telling them exactly what's wrong with them. From their bras to their hair to not wearing a certain kind of shoe. Just everything. He went in. And these insecure broads let him. They let him do it. He even had the audacity to say that he had to teach his wife how to be a pretty woman because she came from a family who didn't know anything. Bitch, what? Why is a man, a married man, and especially a man of quote unquote God, carrying on like this in the church? And people let him. And if y'all would see this dude, he looks like, he's shaped like, the rapper Lil C's. He reminds me of him. Just a mess. Like, he's not attractive at all, which, yes, looks aren't everything, but girl. And not only that, there was this picture going around online of him and his wife. And of course they have all their, she has a picture like where it looks like she's in lingerie or something with a robe over it. And she has her red bottoms on with, of course, you had to see the red bottom on it. And he has on some kind of turtleneck looking shirt with it tucked in to some pants that look like knickers with the belt. Of course, looks like a Gucci belt, so he has to show that. So that just shows you his mindset right there. I mean, and see, this is why a lot of people, and especially a younger generation, don't go to church. Now, I'm not one of those people, and I wasn't raised to be one of those kind of people who you had to go to church to prove how much of a religious person you are. You know what I mean? You didn't have to go to church. Like, I grew up in the church. I went to church, but at a certain age, you know, my family was like, okay, you can go or not. We instilled in you what we can, what the church can. You take it from here. And I've always admired that about my family. But there is so much going on in these churches nowadays. And I mean, there's things been going on, but they're just getting more arrogant and more tacky in their ways that they just can't hide it anymore. So, but yeah, this pastor, I mean, just, you know, it's always the women's fault, which is not always the man's fault either, you know, but why are men always trying to tell women why they don't have a man? Why don't you tell some of these men why they don't have a woman? I can't. No, I love Cat Williams. Cat Williams is definitely one of my favorite comedians ever. He's a dang fool. You know, he's from Ohio, so he definitely gets all the props from me for that. But every time we hear about Cat now, it's always some bad news. I mean, it's always some bull. I mean, wow. But anyway, so Cat Williams is being sued by a former assistant for $1 million. She says that Cat repeatedly beat her and caused serious bodily harm to her. Now, the trial is set for October of this year. However, the accuser, the victim, quote unquote, we'll just call her an accuser right now because we don't really know what happened. But the accuser is now not willing to cooperate with the local law enforcement. She's wanting to take this bigger, I guess. People are saying they don't know if she's being threatened or whatever, but she's not fully cooperating. I don't understand. It's a big mess. She's not wanting to settle. I mean, girl, you're only selling. I mean, I know only for somebody like me is a lot of money when I say this, but you're suing for $1 million. Girl, what do you think you're going to settle for if that's what you're trying to do? You're not going to get more than $1 million. So I don't know what her agenda is. I don't know if she's lying and trying to cover up the lie with, you know, I don't know what's going on, but this was just a weird case. When I heard that he was being sued and that the court date is set, but she doesn't plan on going through with it, she wants to go another route. I'm thinking that she wants to settle. I mean, I don't know. This was just weird, but if anyone has any more information on this is just all I could find. And it confused the hell out of me, but I wanted to put it out there because I love Cat Williams. I don't agree with a lot of things he does, of course, but, you know, as a fan, I'm here for Cat Williams. This other crap that he does, I just can't. So in relationships that we don't really care about, yet the people involved think that we actually do, Toni Braxton and Birdman. I mean, y'all are too old to be playing these games. Ciao. Now, I do think that they are eventually going to get married. I think that they're still together. However, remember, what was it, late last year or whatever, maybe earlier this year? I can't remember. But they had allegedly broken up, called off the engagement because they couldn't just come together on the wedding date and all this other stuff. So, okay. Toni Braxton admitted that they never broke up, that it was a rumor going around social media, so the two of them played on it. I mean, child, really? Okay. I have no words. I mean, I get it. It's funny, but it's petty. However, no one cares that much. Okay. Either y'all broke up or you didn't. So stop it. Allegedly, they're still together. Braxton Family Values, the new season has started. I watched the first episode. I hadn't watched the second one yet. I'm going to try to keep up with this season just because I hadn't really watched it in a while and just see what's going on with the Braxton family and their drama and mess. Also, Birdman is removing his face tattoos, and 50 Cent is the one that told him to. You know, basically he said that he's getting older, you know, and it's just not a good look for him, especially with him going into all these business meetings with all these quote unquote important people, meaning white people and probably Asian people. They're usually the ones that they work with and go into business with. So he said it's just not a good look. And I agree. I mean, I'm all for tattoos. I'm a tattoo advocate. Get them wherever you want to. If you're trying to do something, then all of them are not a good look. People aren't supposed to discriminate against you with them, but they do. However, you started getting these face tattoos when you were probably in your late 30s and 40s. That's from when I remember. You didn't think that was a bad look then. See, what it was, you thought that you were going to be in business strictly for yourself all these years, finding out that you need that good white coin to continue making money. And especially now that you have someone like Toni Braxton, who you know you will easily lose if you go broke. So you got to do what you got to do. I'm all for it. 50 Cent finally gave some good advice. Good for you, sis. And speaking of 50 Cent, so 50 Cent is still out here beefing with folks, you know, and especially women. He is still coming at Tierra Marie. And I mean, this beef has been going on for a long time. I mean, he is going in on her. And for people who don't know, somehow he got a hold of the sex tape where Tierra Marie was caught pleasuring her ex or whatever he is now. And 50 Cent got a hold of it and it got released to the public and she was suing him and somehow she lost and he won his countersuit. I think he won something like $300,000 from her and she hasn't paid him yet. I mean, I'd be shocked if she has $300,000 and that's no shade. I'm just talking about she may have $300,000, but does she have it to give to him? However, 50 Cent don't need to be talking about nobody not paying their lawsuits because he had the nerve to file bankruptcy to get out of paying his. So there's that. However, Tierra Marie has wrote a diss track about 50 Cent and basically in there she says something like she destroyed his career. In my opinion, 50 has destroyed his own career music-wise. You know, I mean, he has power that is keeping him together, but what music has he released that's really done anything? Okay. But I don't think that she contributed to the demise of his music career. I think that was all him, but he responded back to it. He responds back in his own petty way, selling shirts that says she ain't got it. Now, I think that's funny, you know, that just could be the petty spirit in me, but I mean, these two girls are still going at it. You're not going to get your money, 50, so just write this one off and just collect the money from these shirts because people are going to buy the shirts, you know. I may even buy one just out of the petty spirit in me, but there's that. So 50 Cent, child. And another 50 Cent news, he has finally sold his Connecticut mansion. You know, the one that he bought from Mike Tyson years ago. He had been trying to sell it for a while, but the price was ridiculous. And, you know, I mean, it's in New York. It was already expensive back then. And he did a lot of renovations to it, a lot of remodeling to it. And I mean, from what I hear, it looks bomb. So it finally sold. I didn't get the price of what it sold for, but it sold, okay? It sold for a pretty penny. The money from it, he is donating to a charity. So that's real nice. The money from the sale, he is donating to a charity. Do you want to know which charity? It's the G-Unit Foundation, his charity. So he's still benefiting from the sale, of course, as he should. But dude, I mean, he's going to be benefiting more because he's donating to this charity. And even though it's his charity, I mean, he's going to be able to basically get the money back, some of it back, whatever, and then some. I mean, sis. 50 is one of the queens of stunts and shows out here, I promise. So, Puff Daddy. Okay, so let's just talk about it. Puffy says he wasn't ready to marry Kim Porter before. Remember Kim Porter who passed away a few months ago? Yeah. So he said he wasn't ready to marry her before, but now he's ready. So, dude. I mean, you know what? We're not even going to do that, but okay. I mean, everybody knows that you loved her, and we know you were hurt. She's the mother of your children. We get that, but just stop. You know, just stop. It's not making you look any better now that you want to marry her now that she's gone. It's not romantic. Just stop, okay? We're not even going to do that. However, in other Puffy news, Jennifer Lopez, who's another one that likes to pose half naked online, which that's her prerogative. I ain't mad at you, girl. You're almost 50 years old and you got a body like that. You do you. So what I'm saying by that is when people like her, Kim Kardashian, and whoever pose like that online all the time, you're going to get comments. You're going to get feedback. You're going to get hate. You know, you're going to get all these things, okay? So J-Lo posted a picture. I don't know if she was in a bikini or something, whatever, but sis's body was showing, okay? Puffy comments and says, damn, or something like that, you know, to the, like saying like, wow, you know, like, I mean, she looks good. That's basically what he was saying. So here comes A-Rod. A-Rod comes in, which he has every right to, but he comes in and says, yeah, I'm a lucky guy or something like that. Now, A-Rod usually doesn't comment all the time when J-Lo posts stuff, but people were saying that he was commenting to everyone who was commenting on Puffy. because I guess people were saying stuff to Puffy like, that's not right. You shouldn't say that. Y'all were in a relationship, blah, 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 all this other bullshit. Now, look, here's my thing. If you post it, they will comment. It's almost like if you build it, they will come, okay? Puffy had every right to comment. I don't care if they were married before. I don't care if they were in that serious relationship. I don't care if they have history. I don't care. If you post something online and you don't have him blocked, or even if he was blocked, somebody else could have reposted it. He has every right to comment. So after A-Rod commented, Puffy apologized because of what people were saying. I don't think that he should have apologized. I get why he did. Maybe he did feel because other people were saying he was out of place, out of line, whatever. I mean, if she posted online, anybody should be able to comment. Anybody should be able to say anything. That's the thing about social media. Now, is it right or not? That's a whole nother subject. We know the only reason why A-Rod commented and Puffy turned around and apologized, which I don't think that he should have did, but that's what it is. I just thought that was hilarious and ridiculous at the same damn time. Wendy Williams. So Wendy has finally decided to file for divorce from her husband, who has been cheating on her, allegedly beating on her. And now from him cheating on her, a baby allegedly has been brought into the forefront. So, and it's not this baby's fault. It's him and the mistress, because I don't care what's going on in the relationship. She knew he was married. Anyway, so after all this time, Wendy decides to file for divorce. It's reported that she sent him divorce papers in a box with a bow, and he went clear off. I mean, now that's petty. That is petty, and I could see Wendy doing that. But Wendy, okay, now here's my thing. I'm all for marriage. I love the sanctity of marriage. I've said that over and over again. Marriage is a beautiful thing when it works. But when a baby, not only just cheating, because I know plenty of people who have been cheated on and they forgave their spouse. That's your business. But when a baby is brought into it, when a baby is a result of cheating, that takes it to a different level. Cheating to me takes it to a different level, and it's just like, no, you're not coming back here. But when it comes to cheating and a baby, no, we can't do that. So it needed to be done. And allegedly, Wendy is writing a tell-all book. So everyone who's wanting her to speak out against her husband, people who are wanting her to spill all the tea about what's going on in her life because she spills the tea about what's going on in other people's life, just expect it to be in this tell-all book, because she's not going to say nothing. I would be shocked if she even mentions it on her show. If she says anything about her filing for divorce, even though she's the one that filed, but I would be highly shocked if she ever mentions it. But if she does, good for her. She may just mention it in passing, whatever, just like it wasn't nothing. I mean, child, expect all her tea to be in this tell-all book so she can make a coin. Well, that's this week's show, and I want to thank you all again for listening to the podcast. As always, you all are greatly appreciated. Don't forget that you can check out the podcast on DannieBSpeaks.com, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Google Play Music, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, whatever, you can hit me up at DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. If you have anything or anyone that you like me to endorse, promote, you can hit me up, DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. And as always, I can't mention it enough, thank you all for tuning in, taking the time to listen to me. I want to wish every one of you peace and blessings, and have a fantastic week. Peace.